3 days had passed since the battle. Admiral Beck's broken flagship had finally reached Voron space, limping into the home system like a wounded animal. The other ships in the system stared at it with confusion and horror. What had happened? Where was the rest of the fleet? Beck did not answer their questions. He flew straight to the capital world and demanded to speak with the High Council. When they saw the state of his ship, when they heard the emptiness in his voice, they agreed immediately. The High Council of Voron gathered in their ancient hall. 12 leaders sat in a circle, their purple robes flowing around them. They ruled an empire of 50 worlds. They commanded millions of soldiers. They had never known fear. Until today. Admiral Beck stood before them, his uniform torn and dirty. He had not slept since the battle. He had not eaten. He simply stared at the floor and spoke in a voice that sounded like it came from a dead man. "The fleet is destroyed," he said. 29 ships, 8,000 soldiers, all dead. The council members looked at each other in shock. Destroyed by whom? The first speaker demanded. What enemy could defeat 30 Voron cruisers? Beck raised his head. His eyes were empty. Humans. Silence filled the hall. Then, slowly, some of the council members began to laugh. Humans? One of them said. The weak little creatures from the blue planet? They have no warships. They have no weapons. You expect us to believe that humans destroyed your fleet? I expect you to believe the truth, Beck replied. Because the truth is what happened. He told them everything. He told them about the invisible ship that had blocked their weapons. He told them about the massive dreadnought that had appeared from nothing. He told them about the plasma cannons and the missiles and the beam projectors that had torn his fleet apart in 7 minutes. And he told them about Captain Yuna's message. When he finished, the council was silent. The laughter had died long ago. Now there was only fear. 100 ships, the first speaker said slowly. They claimed to have 100 ships like the one that destroyed your fleet. That is what she said. She could be lying. Beck shook his head. I saw what one of their ships could do. If they have 100 more, then we cannot fight them. We cannot survive them. If we attack humanity again, we will be destroyed. The council argued for hours. Some wanted to gather the full Voron fleet and hunt down the human warship. Some wanted to call for help from other species. Some wanted to pretend the battle had never happened. But in the end, they did nothing, because the truth was, they were afraid. For the first time in their long history, the Voron had met an enemy they could not defeat. And they did not know what to do. The news spread quickly. Within a week, every species in the galaxy had heard the story of how a single human warship had destroyed a Voron fleet. Some did not believe it. Some thought it was propaganda. Some laughed and said it was impossible. But then more stories came. Krell raiding party attacked a human mining station near the Outer Rim. They expected an easy target. Instead, they found a human destroyer waiting for them. It decloaked at the last moment and destroyed all 5 Krell ships before they could fire a single shot. A Netheri slaving fleet tried to capture a human transport ship. The transport was carrying workers to a new colony. The slavers saw helpless victims. They saw profit. They moved in for the capture. A human battleship appeared from nowhere and cut them to pieces. Not one Netheri ship survived. More battles. More defeats. More alien species learning the hard truth: humanity was no longer prey. Captain Yuna stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, watching the latest reports come in. The ship was orbiting a small human colony world, now protecting it from any attack. But no attacks were coming. The galaxy was finally learning to leave humanity alone. Captain, Tejo said, walking up beside her. We have received a message from Command. The Defense Council wants to speak with you. Yuna nodded. She had been expecting this. The human government had been silent since the first battle. They had let the fleet commanders do their work without interference. But now it was time to discuss the future. Put them through. A screen appeared in the air before her. On it were the 5 members of the Human Defense Council, the leaders who had planned this moment for 50 years. They looked tired but satisfied. "Captain Yuna," the council chairman said, "you have done excellent work. The galaxy is finally understanding that humanity is not to be attacked. Reports show that alien aggression against human ships has dropped by 90%. "Thank you, sir," Yuna replied. "But this is only the beginning. The other species are afraid now, but fear fades. We need to make sure they never forget." "We agree. That is why we are sending you new orders." Yuna listened carefully as the chairman explained. The human fleet was going to reveal itself fully. All 100 dreadnoughts would decloak at the same time, all across the galaxy. Every species would see them. Every government would know the truth. And then humanity would broadcast a message to every world, every station, every ship in the galaxy. "We want you to deliver that message," the chairman said. "You are the hero of the first battle. You are the face of human strength. Your words will carry weight." Yuna was silent for a moment. She thought about all the humans who had died over the past 50 years. She thought about the colonies that had been burned, the ships that had been destroyed, the children who had been killed. She thought about the pain and the loss and the endless suffering. And she thought about the future. A future where humans could live without fear. A future where no alien fleet would dare attack a human ship. A future where humanity would finally take its rightful place among the stars. "I will do it," she said. 1 week later, the galaxy changed forever. Across 1,000 star systems, human dreadnoughts appeared from nothing. They decloaked near alien worlds, near space stations, near trade routes. 100 massive warships, each one capable of destroying fleets single-handedly. The galaxy froze. Governments called emergency meetings. Fleets were put on high alert. Species that had never spoken to each other suddenly found themselves united in fear. What were the humans doing? Was this an attack? Was this war? And then the broadcast began. Captain Yuna appeared on every screen, every display, every communication device in the known galaxy. Her face was calm. Her eyes were steady. Behind her, the bridge of the eternal dawn glowed with power. "People of the galaxy," she said, "I am Captain Yuna of the Human Defense Force. For 50 years, humanity has hidden its true strength. For 50 years, we have watched you attack our ships, destroy our colonies, and murder our people. For 50 years, we have been building our fleet in secret, waiting for the right moment." She paused, letting her words sink in across 1,000,000 worlds. "That moment has come. You see our ships now. You see our power. And you should understand what this means. Every species that has attacked humanity will be remembered. Every crime against our people has been recorded. We do not forget. We do not forgive." Her voice grew harder. "But we are not here for revenge. We are here to deliver a message. From this day forward, humanity is under our protection. Attack a human ship, and you will die. Attack a human colony, and your world will burn. Attack a human anywhere in this galaxy, and we will find you. We will destroy you. And we will make an example of you that the galaxy will never forget." She leaned forward slightly. "We do not want war. We want peace. We want to trade with you, to learn from you, to grow alongside you. But we will have peace on our terms. Not as victims. Not as prey. As equals." She straightened. "The age of hunting humanity is over. The age of fearing humanity has begun. Remember this day. Remember what you saw. And remember, we are always watching." The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, silence fell. And then, slowly, the galaxy began to change. Trade agreements were offered. Peace treaties were proposed. Species that had ignored humanity for decades suddenly wanted to talk. The hunting was over. On the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, Captain Yuna stood looking out at the stars. Lieutenant Han, Commander Taeho, and Engineer Soong stood beside her. They had done something that would be remembered for centuries. They had changed the fate of their entire species. "What happens now, Captain?" Hannah asked softly. Yuna smiled. It was a real smile this time, filled with hope. "Now," she said, "we build something better. We protect our people. We explore the stars. We become what we were always meant to be." She looked at her crew. "The galaxy knows our strength. Now we show them our heart." Outside, the stars sparkled in the endless darkness. Dot and humanity, finally free, began to reach for them. Admiral Beck stood on the ruined bridge of his flagship. Smoke filled the air. Broken consoles sparked with dying power. Around him, his surviving officers waited in silence, their eyes fixed on the massive human warship floating just outside. The Eternal Dawn was even more frightening up close. Its dark armor seemed to drink in the light. Its weapons were larger than Voron fighters. And somewhere inside that metal monster, the human captain was watching them. Waiting. "Admiral," Beck's second officer said quietly. "What do we do now?" Beck had no answer. In all his years of battle, he had never faced defeat. He had never imagined that defeat was possible. The Voron were strong. The Voron were proud. The Voron won. But not today. On the Eternal Dawn, Captain Yuna turned to Commander Taeho. "Status of the colony ship?" "The Bright Hope is undamaged. They are holding position as ordered. Their captain is sending thanks and asking for instructions. Tell them to remain where they are. We will escort them to safety when this is finished." Yuna walked to the front of the bridge, her boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. Through the main window, she could see Beck's flagship. It was a broken thing now, barely holding together. One more shot would destroy it completely, but she had other plans. Lieutenant Han, target the 3 surviving cruisers. Hannah's fingers moved across her console. Targets locked. Fire. 3 beams of plasma shot from the Eternal Dawn. They crossed the short distance in an instant and slammed into the Voron cruisers. The ships had their shields down. They had surrendered. They had no chance. All 3 exploded at the same time. On Beck's flagship, officers screamed. They had thought surrender would save them. They had thought the humans would show mercy. Now they understood the truth. There would be no mercy. "You killed them," Beck said into his communication device. His voice was shaking. "They surrendered. They were no longer a threat. You killed them anyway." Yuna's voice came back cold and steady. "Yes, that is against all laws of war." "That is, do not speak to me of laws," Yuna interrupted. "For 50 years, your species has attacked human ships without warning. You have killed civilians. You have murdered children. You have never once offered mercy or followed any law." She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice was like ice. "Today, you learn what that feels like." Beck's legs gave out. He fell into his chair, staring at nothing. Around him, his officers were crying, praying, or simply standing frozen in shock. The pride of the Voron fleet had been reduced to this one broken ship surrounded by the bodies of their friends. "Why?" Beck whispered. "Why did you let us live?" "Because someone needs to deliver a message," Yuna replied. "And you are going to be that messenger." Engineer Soong watched his console carefully. The power systems were still running at full capacity. The shields were still strong. The weapons were recharging for another round of fire if needed, but it would not be needed. The battle was over. "Captain," Soong said. I am receiving signals from deep space. Looks like Varan patrol ships detecting the explosions. They are asking the fleet for status reports. Yuna nodded. Good. Let them wonder. Let them worry. She turned back to the view of Beck's flagship. The Varan admiral was still sitting in his chair, looking like a man who had lost everything. In a way, he had. Admiral Beck, Yuna said through the open channel. Listen carefully. You are going to return to Varan space. You are going to tell your leaders what happened here. Every detail. Every moment. You are going to make them understand. Understand what? Beck asked weakly. That the age of hunting humans is over. That we are no longer prey. That every attack on human ships, every raid on human colonies, every single drop of human blood will be answered with fire and death. She stepped closer to the window, as if Beck could see her through the hulls of both ships. For 50 years, we hid our strength because we were not ready. We let you think we were weak. We let you attack us while we built our weapons and trained our soldiers. But now we are ready. Now we are stronger than you ever imagined. Beck said nothing. There was nothing to say. We have 100 ships like this one, Yuna continued, hidden across the galaxy, waiting for orders. If the Varan attack us again, all 100 will reveal themselves. They will come to your home world. They will burn your cities. They will destroy everything you have ever built. She let the threat hang in the air. But if you leave us in peace, we will leave you in peace. This is the only offer you will receive. Take it or refuse it. The choice is yours. On the bridge of his flagship, Beck sat in silence. His officers looked at him, waiting for him to speak, to lead, to do something. But what could he do? The human had all the power now. I understand, Beck finally said. His voice was hollow. I will deliver your message. Good. Yuna turned to Taeho. Release the tractor lock on his ship. Let him go. Taeho nodded and worked his console. Tractor lock released. The Varan flagship is free to leave. For a long moment, Beck's ship did not move. Perhaps he was waiting for a trick. Perhaps he expected the humans to destroy him the moment he tried to run. But Yuna had meant what she said. She needed him alive. She needed him to spread fear. Slowly, the Varan flagship began to move. Its damaged engines struggled to push it forward. Smoke still poured from its wounds. But it was moving, turning away from the battlefield, heading toward Varan Space. Beck took one last look at the eternal dawn through his view screen. The human warship sat among the wreckage of his fleet like a dark god of death. 29 Varan cruisers had been destroyed. Thousands of his soldiers were dead. And the humans had not suffered a single scratch. He had come here today expecting an easy kill. He had laughed at the thought of human resistance. He had called them weak, called them prey. He would never laugh at humans again. Captain, Hana said as she watched the Varan ship retreat. Are you sure about letting him go? He might bring reinforcements. Yuna shook her head. He will not. He's broken. He will return home and tell everyone what happened here. And then the Varan will have to decide, do they want war with humanity or peace? And if they choose war? Yuna turned to look at her young lieutenant. There was steel in her eyes, but also something else. Something sad. Then we give them war. We have been preparing for this for 50 years, Hana. We are ready. Taeho stood from his station and walked to stand beside the captain. He looked out at the field of debris, the burning metal, the floating bodies, the shattered remains of what had been a powerful fleet. We did it, he said quietly. After all these years of hiding, of watching our people die, of pretending to be weak, we finally struck back. This is only the beginning, Yuna replied. Today, one Varan fleet learn the truth. Tomorrow, the whole galaxy will know. And then everything changes. She turned to face her crew. They were all watching her, waiting for her words. These were the men and women who had trained their entire lives for this moment. They had sacrificed everything, families, homes, normal lives, to serve on this ship. And today, they had earned their place in history. You all performed perfectly, Una said. Every system worked. Every shot hit its target. Every order was followed. Because of you, 3,000 innocent people are alive. Because of you, humanity has finally shown its true face to the galaxy. She paused, looking at each face in turn. Be proud of what you did today, but do not celebrate. This was not a victory, it was a statement. The real work begins now. The galaxy will test us. They will push back. They will try to find our weaknesses. Her voice hardened. We will show them that we have none. Outside, the Voron flagship finally disappeared into the darkness of space, carrying its broken admiral and his terrible message. Behind it, the wreckage of 29 ships slowly spun through the void, and at the center of it all, the Eternal Dawn sat in silent power. A dark guardian watching over the colony ship it had saved. The galaxy had not yet learned what happened here, but it would dot soon, everyone would know. The Eternal Dawn filled the view screens of every Voron ship. It was like watching a nightmare become real. For a long moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The only sound was the hum of engines and the beeping of sensors finally detecting what had been hidden for so long. Lieutenant Hana sat at her station, her fingers dancing across the controls. Target after target appeared on her screen. 30 Voron ships, each one marked and measured. She knew their weak points. She knew their shield frequencies. She knew exactly where to hit them to cause the most damage. Targets locked, she reported. Her voice was steady, but inside, her heart was racing. This was the moment she had trained for since she was 16 years old. This was the moment when humanity would finally strike back. Captain Una stood at the center of the bridge, watching the Voron fleet on the main screen. The alien ships were beginning to move, breaking their circle around the colony vessel. Some were trying to turn and run. Others were trying to form defensive formations, thought it would not help them. All weapons stations. Report status, Una ordered. Primary plasma cannons ready, came they. Response from Weapons Bay 1. Missile batteries. Armed. Reported Weapons Bay 2. Beam. Projectors online. Confirmed Weapons Bay 3. Secondary. Cannons standing by. Finished Weapons Bay 4. Una nodded slowly. The Eternal Dawn carried more firepower than any ship in the known galaxy. It was designed for one purpose, and one purpose only, to show the universe that humanity was not to be attacked. Not anymore. On the Voron flagship, Admiral Beck had finally found his voice. All ships scatter. Do not stay together. Find that ship's blind spots. But there were no blind spots. The Eternal Dawn had been designed by the finest engineers humanity had ever produced. They had studied every battle, every defeat, every loss. They had learned from their failures and created something perfect. Admiral, the Voron sensor officer said, his voice high with fear. The human ship is locking weapons on all of us. Every single ship. That is impossible, Beck shouted. No ship can target 30 vessels at once. But he was wrong. The human targeting systems were generations ahead of anything the Voron had seen. Each weapon could independently track and fire at different targets. The Eternal Dawn could fight an entire fleet alone, and it was about to prove it. Captain, Taiho said from his station, the colony ship is signaling. They want to know what is happening. Una almost smiled. Tell them to stay where they are. Tell them they are safe now. She turned back to the main screen. The Voron ships were scattering in all directions, their engines burning hot as they tried to escape. Fear had replaced arrogance. Panic had replaced laughter. Good. Lieutenant Hannah, Una said. You may fire at will. Hannah took a deep breath. She thought of her mother, who had died when Voron raiders attacked her home colony. She thought of her father, who had spent his life building ships that could never fight back. She thought of all the humans who had suffered and died while the galaxy watched and laughed. Then she pressed the fire button. The eternal dawn unleashed its fury. Plasma beams shot from the main cannons, each one burning hotter than the surface of a star. They crossed the distance to the Voron ships in less than a second. Shields flared and failed. Armor melted like ice in fire. The first 3 Voron cruisers exploded in balls of purple and white flame. Missiles followed the beams, streaking through space on trails of blue light. They slammed into Voron ships that were still trying to turn, still trying to run. Explosions bloomed across the battlefield like deadly flowers. The beam projectors fired next, cutting through space in straight lines of golden energy. They sliced through Voron ships like knives through paper. One cruiser was cut in half, its 2 pieces spinning away into the darkness. And still the weapons kept firing. On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Beck watched his fleet die. Ship after ship vanished from his screen. The human warship was moving now, slowly turning to bring fresh weapons to bear. It seemed to be everywhere at once, its firepower endless. Return fire, Beck screamed. All ships, return fire. Some of the Voron ships tried. They launched plasma at the eternal dawn, hoping to overwhelm its shields. But the human shields were far stronger than anything the Voron had ever faced. The attacks splashed harmlessly against the invisible barrier. No effect, a Voron gunner reported. Our weapons are not penetrating. More explosions filled the view screen. 10 Voron ships were gone now. Then 15. The survivors were fleeing in all directions, but the human ship was faster than it looked. Its weapons reached out and found them wherever they ran. Engineer soon watched his console with grim satisfaction. Shield still at 98%. Power levels stable. All systems operating perfectly. Of course they were. The Eternal Dawn had been tested 100 times in secret. Its crew had trained for thousands of hours. Every piece of equipment had been checked and checked again. There would be no mistakes today. Hannah continued her work with cold efficiency. Her fingers moved without hesitation, directing the ship's weapons from target to target. Each shot was perfectly placed. Each missile found its mark. She was not showing off. She was not taking pleasure in the destruction. She was just doing her job. 20 ships destroyed, she reported. 10 remaining. The surviving Voron vessels had given up trying to fight. They were running as fast as their engines could carry them. But the Eternal Dawn was still targeting them, still firing. Captain, Tejo said, should we allow some to escape? They might spread word of what happened here. Una considered the question. She watched another Voron ship explode on the screen. 21 destroyed now. 9 remaining. No, she said finally. If we let them run, they will say they fought bravely against impossible odds. They will say we cheated or used forbidden weapons. They will make excuses. She paused, her eyes hard. We will leave one survivor, one ship to carry our message. But not yet. The killing continued. Admiral Beck's flagship was hit for the first time. A missile struck the rear of his ship, destroying one of the engines. The vessel shook violently, throwing officers from their seats. Smoke began to fill the bridge. Damage report, Beck demanded. Engine 3 is gone. Shields are failing. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. Beck looked at his screen. Only 4 Varan ships remained, including his own. The human warship was turning toward them, its weapons glowing with fresh power. For the first time in his life, Admiral Beck felt true terror. "All ships," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Surrender. Transmit surrender signals. Stop fighting." His second officer stared at him. "Admiral, Varan warriors do not surrender. It is forbidden by. I do not care about tradition." Beck screamed. "I care about survival. Signal surrender now." The 3 remaining Varan cruisers stopped trying to run. Their weapons powered down. They floated in space, waiting for judgment. On the eternal dawn, Hana saw the surrender signals appear on her screen. Her finger hovered over the fire button. Part of her wanted to keep shooting. Part of her wanted to destroy every last one of them. But she looked at Captain Yuna and waited for orders. Yuna stood in silence, watching the defeated fleet. The burning wreckage of 26 Voron ships surrounded them. Thousands of alien soldiers were dead. The power that had terrified humanity for 50 years was broken. But this was only the beginning. "Hold fire," Yuna commanded. "Target the 3 cruisers, but do not shoot. Keep them in our sights." "And the flagship?" Hana asked. Yuna looked at Admiral Beck's damaged ship. It was limping through space, smoke pouring from multiple wounds. The great Varan warrior who had killed so many humans was now helpless. "Bring us alongside," Yuna ordered. "I want to speak to the Admiral directly." The Eternal Dawn moved forward, its massive form passing over the broken Voron fleet like a shadow of death. It stopped next to Beck's flagship, so close that the Varan could see every weapon, every cannon, every piece of armor. Yuna opened a communication channel. "Admiral Beck," she said. "Do you understand now? Do you see the truth?" On his bridge, surrounded by smoke and death, Beck stared at the human warship. He had no words. He had no thoughts. Everything he believed about humans, about the galaxy, about power itself, had been destroyed in less than 7 minutes. "This is what humanity can do," Yuna continued. "This is what we have been hiding. And this is only one ship. We have many more." She let the words sink in. "The galaxy will learn today that the age of hunting humans is over. You will help us teach that lesson." Beck finally found his voice. It was weak and broken. "What do you want from me?" Yuna smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "I want you to watch what comes next. And then I want you to tell everyone what you saw." Commander Tejo moved to the communication station. His heart was beating fast, but his hands were steady. He had trained for this moment for 20 years. Every day, he had practiced. Every night, he had dreamed. And now, finally, the moment had come. "Open a channel to the Varan fleet," Yuna ordered. "Wide broadcast. Make sure they all hear it." Tejo pressed the controls. "Channel open, Captain." Yuna stood tall and straight. When she spoke, her voice was calm and clear. "Varan fleet, this is Captain Yuna of the Human Defense Force. You are targeting a civilian vessel under human protection. You have 1 minute to power down your weapons and withdraw from this sector. This is your only warning." For a moment, there was silence. Then the Varan communication channel exploded with noise. Yuna could hear confusion, surprise, and then loud laughter. The Varan commander's voice came through, still full of amusement. "Human Defense Force? There is no such thing. Humans have no warships. Humans have no weapons." "You are lying." "I am not lying," Yuna replied. "I am giving you a chance to live. Take it." More laughter from the Varan fleet. On the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, the crew remained silent. They had expected this reaction. The galaxy had looked down on humanity for so long that they could not imagine anything else. Admiral Beck, the Varan fleet commander, was sitting on his command chair aboard his flagship. He was large for a Voron, with thick purple skin and 4 arms covered in battle scars. He had fought in 100 battles across a dozen star systems. He had never lost, and he had killed many humans. "Whoever you are," Beck said into the communication channel, "you are a fool. Perhaps you have stolen a communication device. Perhaps you think you can scare us with words. But words do not stop plasma cannons." He turned to his bridge crew. "Find the source of that transmission. If there is a ship hiding nearby, destroy it along with the colony vessel." His sensor officer worked at his console for several moments. Then he looked up with confusion on his face. "Admiral, I can't find any other ships. Our sensors show nothing but the colony vessel and empty space." Beck frowned. "Then where is the transmission coming from?" "Unknown, Admiral. The signal seems to come from nowhere." On the Eternal Dawn, Hana smiled slightly. The human cloaking technology was perfect. It hid the ship from all sensors, all scans, all detection systems. The Voron were looking right at them and seeing nothing. "Admiral Beck," Una continued, "your sensors cannot find us because we do not wish to be found. But we are here. And if you attack that colony ship, you will die. This is not a threat. This is a fact." Beck's laughter had stopped. His 4 hands gripped the arms of his chair. He did not like mysteries. He did not like things he could not understand. 30 seconds, Una said. "Make your choice." Beck stared at his screen. For a moment, just a moment, doubt crossed his face. But then he remembered who he was. He was Admiral Beck. He was undefeated. He had crushed enemies far more dangerous than any human, and humans were weak. Everyone knew that. "Enough of this game," Beck growled. "All ships, fire on the colony vessel. Destroy them." The Voron fleet opened fire. 30 ships released their weapons at once. Beams of bright purple plasma shot through space toward the Bright Hope. Inside the colony vessel, 3,000 humans screamed. Parents held their children. Lovers held each other. They closed their eyes and waited for death. But death did not come. The plasma beams slammed into an invisible wall. They scattered and broke apart like water hitting rock. Where the beams struck, space itself seemed to ripple and glow. Admiral Beck jumped to his feet. What is happening?" His sensor officer was staring at his screen with wide eyes. "Admiral, there is something there. Something big. It blocked our weapons. Show me." But there was nothing to show. The sensors still detected nothing. Yet the evidence was right before their eyes. Their weapons had hit something solid. Something huge. Something that should not exist. On the Eternal Dawn, Engineer Soong checked his readings. Shield impact absorbed. No damage to the cloak. The colony ship is safe. Una nodded. "Open a channel." "Admiral Beck," she said, her voice now carrying an edge of steel. "You were warned. You chose not to listen. Now you will face the consequences." Beck was shouting at his officers. "Find that ship. Find it now. How can there be a ship we cannot see?" "Because you never thought to look," Una answered. "For 50 years, humanity has hidden. We have watched you kill our people. We have watched you laugh at our suffering. We have built our ships in secret, designed our weapons in shadow, trained our soldiers in silence." She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice was cold. "We were waiting for this moment. The moment when the galaxy would learn the truth." Tejo looked at the captain. "They are charging weapons again. They intend to fire on our shields." "Let them," Una said. "Let them empty their weapons against us. Let them see how useless their power is." The Voron fleet fired again. And again. And again. Wave after wave of plasma struck, the invisible shields of the Eternal Dawn. The space around the hidden ship glowed bright with the impact of countless weapons. But the shields held. The ship did not move. It did not even shake dot inside the Voron flagship. Panic was spreading. Officers were shouting. Soldiers were running. Admiral Beck stood frozen, his four hands hanging limply at his sides. "This is impossible," he whispered. "Humans cannot have such technology. Humans are weak. Humans are prey." But the evidence was burning before his eyes. "Admiral," his second officer said, his voice shaking, "we have used all our plasma charges. We need time to reload." Beck slowly sat back in his chair. His face had turned pale purple. For the first time in his long career, he felt something he had never felt before: fear. "All ships," he ordered, his voice cracking slightly. "Prepare to retreat. Set course for Admiral Beck." Yuna's voice cut through his words like a blade. "You had your chance to retreat. That chance is gone." Beck grabbed his communication device. "Wait, we can negotiate." "We can. There is nothing to negotiate," Yuna replied. "You tried to kill 3,000 innocent people. You laughed as you did it. You called us weak. You called us prey." Her voice dropped to barely above a whisper, but somehow it filled every speaker on every Voron ship. "Now learn the truth. Learn what humanity really is." She turned to her crew. Every officer was at their station. Every system was ready. The moment they had trained for, dreamed of, waited for their entire lives was finally here. "Lieutenant Hana," Yuna commanded. "Drop the cloak." Hana's finger pressed the button dot, and the darkness of space split open. The eternal dawn appeared like a monster rising from the depths of an ocean. It was massive, over 3 kilometers long. Its hull was covered in weapons, plasma cannons, missile launchers, beam projectors, and devices the Voron had never seen before. Its armor was thick and black, absorbing light like a hole in space. On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Beck stared at the human warship. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Around him, his officers were frozen in shock. Some had fallen to their knees. Others were backing away from their screens as if the image might reach out and grab them. "By the ancient gods," Beck's second officer breathed. "What is that thing?" The eternal dawn hung in space before them like a judgment from the heavens. Its weapons slowly turned, each one finding a target among the Voron fleet. And then Captain Yuna spoke one final time. "This," she said, "is humanity." The weapons began to glow. The end was about to begin. The darkness of space held many secrets. Some were old, some were dangerous, and some were waiting to be revealed at the perfect moment. Captain Yuna stood at the center of the bridge, her eyes fixed on the large screen before her. The screen showed a fleet of alien ships. They were Voron vessels, painted in dark purple and black. There were 30 of them, moving in a circle around a single human ship. The human ship was called the Bright Hope. It was a colony vessel, carrying 3,000 men, women, and children. They were simple people looking for a new home among the stars. They had no weapons. They had no soldiers. They only had dreams of a peaceful life on a distant planet. But the Voron did not care about dreams. Yuna watched as the alien ships moved closer to the Bright Hope. Her hands were calm at her sides. But inside, her heart burned with cold anger. She had seen this before. The galaxy was a cruel place for humans. Everyone thought they were weak. Everyone thought they were prey. "Captain," said Commander Tejo from his station. His voice was steady, but Yuna could hear the tension beneath his words. "The Voron fleet is charging weapons. They will be ready to fire in 4 minutes." Yuna did not respond immediately. She continued to watch the screen. The eternal dawn floated in the darkness nearby, completely invisible to all sensors. The cloaking technology was humanity's greatest secret. No other species in the galaxy knew that humans had such power. For 50 years, humanity had hidden its true strength. When they first came to the stars, they found a galaxy full of older species. These species had faster ships, better weapons, and more soldiers. They looked at humanity and saw nothing but easy targets. The first human colonies were destroyed. The first human ships were captured. Thousands died. Millions were enslaved. The galaxy laughed at the weak little species from the small blue planet. But humanity did not break. They learned. They adapted. They built in secret. Lieutenant Hannah, Una said quietly, "What is the status of the Bright Hope?" Hannah turned from her console. She was young, only 25 years old, but her eyes held the hardness of someone who had seen too much death. "They are sending distress signals, Captain. They are begging for help. But no one is answering." Of course, no one was answering. The other species in this sector did not care about human lives. To them, humans were like insects, small, unimportant, disposable. And our systems? Una asked. "All weapons are ready," Hana reported. "Shields are at full power. The cloak is stable. They cannot see us." Una nodded slowly. The Eternal Dawn was not like other human ships that the galaxy had seen. It was a dreadnought, one of the largest and most powerful warships ever built by human hands. It carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Its armor could survive the heat of a star. And its crew was made up of the finest soldiers humanity had to offer. For decades, ships like the Eternal Dawn had stayed hidden. The human government had ordered patience. They said the time was not right. They said humanity needed more ships, more weapons, more soldiers before they could reveal themselves. But things were changing. "Captain," said Engineer Sung from the back of the bridge. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had served on human ships for 40 years. He had watched friends die in countless attacks. "The Voron are hailing the colony ship." "Put it on speaker," Una ordered. The bridge filled with the harsh sounds of the Voron language. The translation system quickly turned it into human words. "Attention, human vessel," the Voron commander said. His voice was filled with amusement. "You have entered Voron space without permission. This is a crime. The punishment is death." A pause. Then another voice came through. It was human. A woman, her voice shaking with fear. "Please," she begged. "We are just colonists. We made a navigation error. We meant no offense. Please, let us go. There are children on this ship." The Voron commander laughed. It was an ugly sound, like rocks grinding together. "Children grow into adults," he said. "Adults become soldiers. Soldiers become problems. It is better to end the problem now." Una felt her jaw tighten. Beside her, Taiho's hands had formed into fists. Around the bridge, every crew member had stopped moving. They were all listening. They were all remembering. Every human in space knew someone who had died at alien hands. Every human had lost a friend, a family member, a loved one. The galaxy had treated them like animals for 50 years. And now, they were about to watch it happen again, unless someone stopped it. "Engineer Sung," Una said softly. "How many Voron ships are in their fleet?" 30, Captain. All medium-class cruisers. They have standard shields and plasma weapons. And how long would it take us to destroy them all? Sung paused. A small smile crossed his weathered face. "At full power? 7 minutes. Maybe 6 if Lieutenant Hana is feeling angry." Hannah did not smile. Her fingers moved across her console, checking the targeting systems one more time. "I am always angry," she said quietly. Una understood. They all carried the same anger. It lived in their bones. It filled their dreams at night. It was the anger of a species that had been beaten down again and again, but refused to die. "The orders from command are clear," Taiho said carefully. "We are only supposed to observe. We are not supposed to engage unless directly attacked." Yuna turned to look at him. Her eyes were dark and deep, like the space around them. 3,000 civilians, she said. Men, women, children. They will all die in the next few minutes. And we are supposed to just watch? Taiho held her gaze. Then, slowly, he shook his head. "No, Captain. I do not believe we are." Yuna turned back to the screen. The Varan ships were almost in position. Their weapons were glowing with deadly energy. The Bright Hope drifted helplessly, unable to run, unable to fight. "The galaxy thinks we are weak," Yuna said to her crew. "They think we are prey. They have hunted us and killed us and laughed at our suffering. They believe there is no price to pay for human blood." She paused, letting her words fill the silence. "Today, we teach them different." She walked forward until she stood directly before the main screen. The purple and black Varan ships filled her vision. Behind them, the small shape of the Bright Hope waited for death. "All hands," Yuna commanded. "Prepare for combat." On my order, we dropped the cloak. Around her, the bridge came alive with activity. Soldiers checked their weapons. Officers confirmed their systems. The great engines of the Eternal Dawn began to hum with power. Yuna watched the clock. 3 minutes until the Varan opened fire. 3 minutes until 3,000 innocent humans died. But in 3 minutes, everything would change. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity was not prey. Humanity was the hunter, and the hunt was about to begin.